Welcome to another edition of the Tiger Football Report. I'm your host, Spiro Marikas, along with the head coach of the Tigers, Rob Ambrose. And Coach, bye week this week. We're 4 weeks into the season. Let's take a look at the good and the bad. And let's start with the bad. So the good is the last thing we talk about. But through 4 weeks, 1 and 3, I know those aren't the results you wanted. What has maybe surprised you about the team that you thought maybe would be better than you are right now?
Ability to keep control of football. Number of turnovers in the early games is just strikingly too many. And it's really hard to win football games against really good competition when you're turning the ball over. And let's be honest, this is some of the best competition we played in the month of September in the history of the program, in the entire history of the program.
Well, no question about that. And obviously, in the first conference game against New Hampshire, 4 interceptions had a lot to do with you losing by a score of 26-14. What do you do to correct that going down the road?
Limit teaching strategies, securing confidence in the decision-making process by being more repetitive, and actually working together with the quarterback a little bit more instead of just telling what needs to be done. We go back and forth, and it's working out. It's a growth process going on here, and it's been a really good week.
Kind of go back to the basics kind of thing?
A little bit, yeah. Well, that's usually the case.
So do you start practice by saying, this is a football?
I don't think we get that simple, Spiro, but thanks for the help. I'll think about that next time.
I think Vince Lombardi did that once. All right, now on the positive side, what have you seen that has been better than you expected through the first 4 weeks?
Incredible resilience. That I knew that they would have some of that, but to play who we've played, to be in the circumstance and the situations that we put ourselves in 3 weeks in a row, and then to win the fourth quarter in all 3 of those games, it tells me a lot about who they really want to be, who they are deep down. And how we went about the bye week is unlike probably any other year we've ever done it, and it's probably the best we've ever done it. So it's been an interesting road. It's been a challenging road. It's been a hell of a bumpy road, but I couldn't be more excited for the future, neither could the kids.
All right. Well, tell us, what are you doing differently this bye week as opposed to bye weeks in the past?
Well, despite the fact that we played some really, really physical games, we're in some decent shape. I mean, we have some injuries, but bumps and bruises after that. So bumps and bruises don't mean anything. What's the best way to stay in shape? Never get out of it. So we're practicing like we're playing on Saturday, and a very, very high tempo with probably more reps this week than we did last week. And that's all I can ask them, just to keep getting better and take it one play at a time. Don't look too far down the road, but just know that our goals are still within reach. Just go about it 6 seconds at a time.
You talked about bumps and bruises. I heard Aaron Rodgers talking last week that the only day that a football player is 100% healthy is the first day of training camp. After that, you're not 100% healthy. You're going to have bumps and bruises all the way.
That's in the definition of the game. It's not about it's not like a racehorse. Like you can only run when you're at your best. No, it's how can you run when you're not at your best? And basically, how can the other team run when it's not at its best? And how tough are you? That's part of what makes the game so great.
You look back at the San Diego State game this past week. It was a game where you go in the end of the half, you score a touchdown, you've got momentum, you're only down by 7. They're thinking to themselves, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? You know, we're just outside the top 25 in FBS, and we're playing this FCS school, and they got us really, in a bad situation because they're going to get the ball to start the second half. But then the punt block kind of turned the whole game around.
Usually when you play those big games like that, momentum is going to be big. Big plays are going to be big. And we'd somehow found a way to limit some of their big plays, both in the run and the pass game, and came up with a couple of our own. Attitude was good. That mistake really took some air out of the balloon. And then we proceeded, that gave him 7 points. We proceeded to throw an interception coming out of the red zone, gave him another 7 points. And, we turned the ball over early in the game coming out of the red zone, which gave him another 7 points. But you think about, ball security and making a little bit better decisions, staying a little more focused, you alleviate those 3 plays. Alleviate the concept of 21 points. So I was extremely disappointed and frustrated, but I'm also really excited because, that's a team right there that just beat 2 Pac-12 teams. And at halftime, they're asking themselves, who the hell is Towson and how are we going to stop them? And I think that shows that we've grown a little bit week to week, but we got a lot more work to do.
All right, so you've got an off weekend. Will you watch CAA games this weekend at all? Even in color?
Of course. This is all we do. I'll probably get a chance to watch some other football, probably for the first time in a long time, considering we're not traveling all over the world. But our focus will be on who we're playing next and who we're playing after that. Which
is Stony Brook. Any surprises to you in the CAA through the first 4 weeks of the season when you look at where teams are?
No, not at all. I think that everybody was going to put their best foot forward for the most part. I think what you're going to find in the next month and a half is who's are really healthy and who's aren't. And it'll show up in the wins and loss column.
I know you'll be happy to be at home to the month of October. No more plane rides or bus rides or anything else. How important is that to your players to have a sense of, we've got a couple of weeks here where we don't have to go anywhere?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, let's be honest. They probably just traveled more miles than most college football players do in any program across the country. And they did it in the month of September. This is the hardest travel month for them that could ever possibly be. So after this, what else can the world present them? Everything goes up from here. So now we get to be at home in front of our fans, in front of the people that cheer for us, not, thousands of miles away. And there's something really special about playing in front of your own fans. And the kids know it. They feel it.
Some players that I think have really shown up for you. The one that really stands out to me is Mark Collins Jr. He has played tremendously at cornerback for you through the first 4 weeks of the season.
He's taken more reps than anybody else on the defense in all our games and has been, I don't want to say darn near flawless, but pretty good for a guy that nobody knew who he was when the season started. So I expect big things from him as we go forward. I think he's going to play. He keeps getting better every week. And I think when it comes to the end of the season, everybody's going to know who Mark Collins is, not just Tigers.
What is it that he does from that cornerback position that makes him stand out from others?
Well, first you have to have a skill set, and he clearly has it. He's got great feet. He's got great hips. He's got great vision. He's very, very smart, but he's extremely focused. He's one of these guys that no detail is too small and no detail doesn't need to be refined. He just keeps working on the little things every single day. And he doesn't have to think because of it. It's really, he's a great example of what you would like out of corner.
Jerry Howard, also another player that to me has shown a lot. I mean, his touchdown run the other day was spectacular in many ways, but he brings you a dynamic that you haven't had in a few years.
That's true. He's a big back. He's extremely athletic, and he's a great leader. He adds to that room, but there's a lot in that room. What excites me about him is he thinks he's getting better by being with those guys in that room. So he's providing leadership along the way, and he's not topped out. He knows it. There are things about his game. He's rusty too. He hasn't played in a while, and he keeps getting better every practice because we keep pushing the envelope. So I think what you've seen of him so far has been pretty good, but I think it could get a lot better.
All right, and lastly, Aaron Grubkowski today was announced as one of the 30 finalists for the William Campbell Trophy, which goes to outstanding academics. Tell us a little bit about Aaron and what makes him such a special, not just football player, but a special student.
Could not be more happy for him. Could not be more a deserving person on the planet. That he walked in the door loving football and loving education. And I'm not lying. That's not crazy nerd talk. I know I talk like that sometimes, but he took pride in his education, and he really wanted to find out how good of a football player he could be. And along the way, he's combined these two things in full force, where Aaron wants to breathe the best. He wants to walk the best, talk the best. Excellence is in the air for everything he does. And he sets the bar for everyone around him. It is exciting to be around him at practice. He makes people, when I blow the whistle in practice, he starts screaming because he wants everyone to be on his level. Let's get this good. And everything is how good can I be? When you hang around a person like that, he just makes everybody else around him successful. One of my favorite players of all time, and that's a pretty big statement.
It is. I met his father in the elevator in California this past weekend. And my first comment was, wait a minute, you're a little skinny dude and your son's a big lineman. How did that happen?
Well, remember now, when they're done playing and all the guys that are watching it, like the linemen either go one or two. They don't ever stay the same. They either go down or they go up, and they don't do it by a little bit. They usually do it by a lot. So I'll just let it sit there.
All right, Coach. Thank you for your time, and we'll talk to you next week about Stony Brook.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Tiger Football Report.